Here's another Kiwi Christmas story. It's called Brian Saves Christmas. It's written by Yvonne Morrison and it's illustrated by Deborah Hind, and it's a lovely scholastic book. 'Twas the week after Christmas and Santa was beat. He delivers his presents. His job was complete. He strolled to the paddock and greeted his flock. Then he saw a sight that gave him a shock. Flossie the ewe sheep was looking quite crook. He called out to Mrs. Claus, "Come take a look." His wife raced on down and just as fast as the wind examined old Flossie, then stood up and grinned. Flossie the ewe and Jason the ram are going to have a new baby lamb. As Jason barred proudly, his best mates looked on. Fluffy, Wayne, Buffy, Shane, Bossy and Sean. As the weeks passed, Flossie grew to be plump. Her tummy swelled into a jolly round bump. Soon, Flossie gave birth to a small baby boy, and Jason, the father, he bleated with joy. His time as daddy had finally begun. There was so much he wanted for Brian, his son. Teaching him rugby was one of his aims, and soccer and cricket and other sheep games. And when the time came, he would teach him to fly. He'd pull Santa's tractor all over the sky. But when he sneaked to the cradle and had a look in, the lambs that he saw there were scrawny and thin. As the months passed, Brian stayed really small. Runty and slim, he grew hardly at all. He wouldn't play rugby. He'd not even look, preferring to stay in and read a fat book. He'd never play sport. He was more of a thinker, inventing and learning and having a tinker. Poor Jason was desperate for Brian to fly, but Brian preferred to just look at the sky. The year passed by quickly. December was here. It was always a time of good tidings and cheer. The sheep adored Christmas. Their job made them glad. But poor little Brian felt useless and sad. He tried wrapping presents, but he got tied in knots. He tried to cook pudding, but it burnt all the pots. He knew he could never help out with the flying. There wasn't a job that would suit little Brian. On Christmas Eve, Santa hitched up the crew, and Brian felt glum that he couldn't go too. But before they could leave, ever so quickly, dark clouds amassed and the fog rolled in thickly. "We can't fly in this," Santa cried in dismay. "You sheep won't be able to locate the way." The sheep bleated gloomily. Santa was right. They wouldn't be flying the tractor tonight. But Brian zoomed out to his tinkering shed. He sorted through boxes and nodded his head. Out flew capacitors, diodes, resistors, switches and wires, and tiny transistors. With globs of hot solder, he made a machine with a satellite dish and a green radar screen. He showed it to Santa and gave it a twitch, and the screen flickered on with a flip of a switch. "A GPS?" Santa yelled, "What a display! The satellite system can show us the way." What a clever sheep. "You saved the day, Brian," Santa Claus cried, and Brian's heart sang. He was bursting with pride. "It's time now you made your very first flight. Come sit with me, guide the tractor tonight." Brian climbed up with a small, happy sigh, and Santa and team launched into the sky. So thanks to Brian, soon all of the toys were being delivered to good girls and boys. Later that night, Santa started a song, and soon the whole team was bleating along. Brian's song. Brian, the big-brained Romney, was a very brainy sheep. Rugby and other sheep games made him want to go to sleep. Of all of the other Romneys, thought him rather sad and small. They don't think poor Brian would be any help at all. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, "Brian, with your brain so bright, won't you guide the team tonight?" Then how the sheep adored him as they bleated out with glee, "Brian, the brick-brained Romney, you will go down in history." How cool is that? So Brian really did save Christmas. Ka kite and Merry Christmas, my friends.